How would you feel if the person that you loved, the hero of your life, the one who helped you find strength and courage through life, just disappeared one day? If they vanished with no trace of them in sight, only for you to discover that they didn't just disappear, but rather they were captured and frozen in ice by a group of people who wished to take over the world. Pretty self-explanatory, right? You'd want to take them down with all your might. But what if the person running this group was the same as you? What if they had compassion beyond any other, but that compassion was just misguided? What now? Are they doing the right thing? Are you doing the right thing in stopping them? And can you even stop a stronger, more experienced version of yourself to begin with? Do you even want to stop someone so similar to you? Those are only some of the challenges that Yellow has to face in Pokemon Adventures. As Red, the main protagonist of the series till now, the boy who helped her become who she is, the boy that she's in love with, has been captured by Kanto's Elite Four, with Lance as their leader. And though she's yet to learn it, Lance is exactly like her. And this story is about Lance just as much as it is about Yellow. But wait, hold up. Red was captured by the Kanto Elite Four? Yeah, so the Elite Four aren't actually noble and righteous in this series. Well, sorta, but not really. Let me explain. Pokemon Adventures Red, Green, Blue was a story of how our protagonists, Red, Green, and Blue, came together to take down Team Rocket, and how the three of them duked it out for the title of champion in the Indigo League. During this story, around the time Red went to go face Giovanni, he saved this little girl from an enraged Dratini, and even helped this little girl catch her first ever Pokemon, a Rattata. But he doesn't just leave her with that. He leaves her off with a strong impression and a message about raising Pokemon with a kind and gentle heart. A message that this little girl will carry with her for the rest of her life. Starting from that moment, as immediately after his battle with Giovanni, the little girl somehow managed to find and heal Red, with Red completely unaware of how she did it. And as Red heads off to the Pokemon League, he wishes the girl well and takes on the Pokemon League, where in his finals against Green, we see the Elite Four watching their battle and carefully monitoring his victory. Speaking of Red and Green, how about we talk to them and see how their final battle went through Polybuzz? Today's video has been sponsored by Polybuzz, an app that allows you to create your own AI character and chat with them, providing the best AI chat and role-playing experiences to users worldwide, enjoying endless interactive fun. Let's see what Red thought of during his victory over Green. Hey Red, how did it feel when you beat Green in the championship match when he was convinced that he was going to beat you from day one?
That was an intense battle. Green was a tough opponent, but I managed to come out on top.
Honestly, this is protagonist syndrome at its finest. Green, Red seems to be talking a lot of smack, but what do you have to say to him? Hey, that's 2 for 2 for accuracy. Blue, do you have anything you want to add to this, seeing as how you're in the semifinals, and seeing as how these two always annoy you?
Hey, you look pretty strong when you help a pretty girl like me. Yayo.
Yeah, sounds about right. Also, you can use my code to get unlimited voice listening, custom backgrounds, and more. Download Polybuzz on the Google Play Store or App Store today to be able to talk to your favorite characters today. Link in description down below. Cut forward 2 years later to the start of Pokemon Adventures Yellow, and we see Red get an invitation from Bruno for a 6-on-6 fight. And while Misty and Professor Oak are discussing Red's whereabouts, Red's Pikachu alone returns to the lab from the fight, injured and beaten up in a way that we've never seen before. Oak tries to figure out what happened when we see the protagonist of our series, Yellow, come to Pallet Town to find Pika. Yellow barges into Oak's lab unwarranted, and while Oak isn't too happy about it, he's quickly shocked to see and learn that Pika actually knows Yellow. Not just that, but he later recognizes that Yellow actually somehow managed to heal Pikachu just like that. Yellow tries to take Pikachu along for her journey to find Red because she somehow knew that he was missing before Oak and Misty. When Oak stops her and tells her that if she's gonna take Red's Pikachu of all Pokemon, she needs to prove her worth in battle, because Red, of course, was a fantastic battler. And while she's not really competent in battling at all, she ends the battle without a single Pokemon getting hurt. Oak is impressed and recognizes Yellow's worth as a trainer, one that's different from all the others that he's met, and entrusts Yellow to help save Red by giving Pika as well as Red's Pokédex. If it wasn't obvious already, Yellow is the same little girl that Red had met back in the 3rd volume of the series. Yellow doesn't want to reveal her identity to the world yet because Blue, the girl, I know it's confusing, I'm sorry, was the one who first learned of Red's disappearance and was the one to find and inform Yellow and put her on this mission to save Red and stop the Elite Four. And here she thought it was best that Yellow hides her identity as a girl and plays as a boy because she needs time to use her power as a woman as a weapon. Yeah, don't ask. Blue is just mischievous and cunning like that. And also, more importantly, so she's not identified by anyone since she does have special psychic powers that come from her hometown, Viridian City. In the manga, it's said that once every 10 years, a child is born in Viridian Forest who possesses mysterious powers. Now, I don't know what people are doing giving birth to a child in the forest in this day and age, but the powers are pretty cool. Let me tell ya, we've already seen Yellow use her psychic abilities to heal Pokemon and people with Red earlier in the series. However, it's primarily used to heal Pokemon. I don't think she ever actually heals people in the series outside of this. She also has a small amount of telekinesis, allowing her to at least manipulate Pokeballs attached to a string, which she uses against Elite Four when they attack her. And while she does have one more power where she's able to synchronize spirits with her Pokemon, that's not something we can touch upon until the end of this video. But we can talk about her most important power in learning about the story of the manga, the ability to read minds, emotions, and memories of Pokemon. This allows Yellow to learn about what happened to Red through Pikachu's memories, and it turns out that Red and Bruno were having a really crazy 6-on-6 fight, one that both fighters were really enjoying, when suddenly Bruno gets possessed by Agatha and Lorelei, who attack Red, claiming that they intentionally brought Red here to take him down just to learn of Giovanni's whereabouts. Because they need Giovanni's badge for the Badge Energy Amplifier, a device that uses the energy of the badges of the Kanto gym leaders to fuel a Pokemon or fuse a Pokemon. You should definitely watch my recap of the Team Rocket arc in the Red, Blue, and Green series if you haven't already, and also subscribe if you haven't already to see more manga videos like this one. Red claims that he doesn't know where Giovanni is, and Lorelei and Agatha are not happy with that, but they decide to go with Plan B, a proposal to recruit Red in joining them in human extinction, to create a world where humans do not exist, so that Pokemon could prosper and thrive on their own. That's right, in this series, the Kanto Elite Four is an organization where they only care about the safety and well-being of Pokemon. They have a goal where they wish to wipe out humanity to create a utopia for Pokemon, and they remain to be the strongest trainers in the region. The 3 Elite Four members defeat Red and his team and go even further by freezing Red in place, with Red and his Pokemon immobilized and Pikachu being the only one to escape and get to Oak's lab. Fast forward with things and Yellow is on a training arc to help save Red, befriending a bunch of Red's friends and even getting some of their Pokemon as gifts for her team. And Green being her mentor in battling Pokemon, where of course she doesn't want to hurt Pokemon, which Green finds to be crazy. Even crazier is that Yellow doesn't want to evolve her Pokemon because she likes them just the way they are. And when Ratty evolves, she throws a whole fit. The next morning, she recognizes that she was childish and she probably hurt Eradicate's feelings, but she also expresses that it's the same Pokemon on the inside. Despite that though, she still doesn't want to evolve her Pokemon and keeps canceling all of the evolutions of her Pokemon because Green taught her how to hit the cancel button on the Pokedex. Yeah, don't ask me how that makes sense. Regardless, Green teaches her what he can and also recognizes the power in being able to heal and trusts Yellow to save Red the same way his grandfather and Blue have, leading her to go out on her own. Till now, Yellow has come face to face with Lorelei and Agatha, and even when Lorelei was going crazy and about to end it for both Yellow and Bill, Yellow still managed to save both of them and threw Lorelei into a frenzy without hurting any Pokemon. Agatha did outsmart them a bit, but it's nothing they couldn't bounce back from. But the next member is a different story. Enter Lance. Yellow enters the competition in Vermilion City where the prize is a Dragonair, when suddenly Lance appears on top of it out of nowhere and somehow causes the Pokemon to turn enraged, creating whirlpools and vortexes that engulf the people. Not just that, but upon being questioned of his identity, Lance just gets Dragonair to Hyper Beam an entire part of Vermilion City just to go and find Yellow. Lance thinks that Yellow isn't there and leaves, but Yellow of course follows him through, and when Yellow and Lance do meet up, the dynamics are very interesting. Lance recognizes that he's being followed by Pikachu, and though he has it right at his hand, he just tosses it back to Yellow, asking her why she followed him. And Yellow answers with a question asking Lance why he destroyed the city. Lance half-jokingly says that he was looking for something and unfortunately the buildings were in the way. And Yellow just yells saying that for that, countless people and Pokemon perished. But Lance immediately counters by saying that no one got unalived because of the earlier surfing contest. Vermilion would have been completely empty, minus a trainer or two. That being said, Yellow followed Lance. Lance still attacks her and preaches the Elite Four mission of destroying humanity for the sake of letting Pokemon thrive. Man, sounds like Ann and Lysander before they even came to be. Lance is ruthless against Yellow, and it's here where Lance reveals his power to control dragons. Lance is winning the fight and eventually sends Yellow and Pikachu drowning through a Dragon Rage. But through plot armor and Pokemon Yellow shenanigans, Yellow managed to get Pikachu to surf by using Substitute somehow, resulting in an explosion finish for her. But this does lead Yellow to think, Was Lance right? Would Pokemon be better off without people? While she's asking Pika and thinking about an answer, she remembers Red's words and remembers that people and Pokemon are friends. And so she carries her conviction forward to find Red. Lance, of course, isn't done yet and is seen to have regrouped with the other Elite Four members as well as a so-called team of Dragon-type Pokemon. Meanwhile, Brock found Red's frozen statue at Mount Moon and informs the other heroes and gym leaders. But it seems that Red is no longer encased in ice? Where is he? Well, unfortunately, there's no time to think about it, because as soon as they try to, the gym leaders get word that every single one of their cities are being attacked. So while they stay back to defend their cities, the protagonist and Blaine go to Mount Moon to face off against Elite Four, stop them, and save Red. And unfortunately, or fortunately in this case for them, they end up meeting with the evil gym leaders, which these three gym leaders are a part of Team Rocket. Seriously, if you haven't seen that video, you really should. The evil gym leaders that are aligned to Team Rocket also want to stop the Elite Four solely because they don't want any other organization to rule Kanto other than themselves. And since the enemy of an enemy is a friend, the two teams form alliances to take down the Elite Four. Blue and Sabrina against Lorelei, Green and Koga against Agatha, Serge and Bill against Bruno because Red isn't there, and Blaine and Yellow against Lance, though Blaine's on the good side. Every single one of these fights has something to offer. Blue and Sabrina versus Lorelei has a lot of fun, trickery, deception, and teamwork. Green and Koga has probably the most story and character growth to any of the fights outside of Yellow's. And Serge and Bill has them getting thoroughly destroyed, with Serge falling to his doom. When suddenly, Red appears! And this isn't some crazy aura farming type of return either. It's just classic Red, and man is it great to see him. The room that Blaine and Yellow were in had a one-way see-through wall in the cave where the two could see everything that was happening. And Yellow was so lost in excitement that Red returned that she couldn't even hear Blaine's warning of a flood. And so when it hits, it's finally revealed to Blaine that at least Yellow is indeed a girl. And so when Blaine wakes up Yellow after they fall unconscious, Yellow makes it clear that for whatever reason, she needs the hat to feel comfortable. I think it's just because she wants to get closer to Red without letting him know that she's a girl, but really, I don't know what the reason is for this. That's all I can think of, but anywho, Red's Pokedex and Yellow's sketchbook got left behind as they got swept off, and this is important because as Blaine and Yellow are trying to make their way out, who else to greet them other than Lance? Lance and Blaine engaged in battle as Blaine tells Yellow not to engage since Blaine commands Mewtwo in the manga, as Mewtwo is partially born out of Blaine's DNA here. However, the two have an unfortunate limit of only being able to battle together in close distances, and also with a timer of 3 minutes before Blaine's body starts to deteriorate. And while the battle is going crazy, the timer causes Blaine to think of another strategy to break the buttons on Lance's Pokeballs so that he can no longer let out his Pokemon. Lance is amazed at Mewtwo's power and the strategy that they came up with, but he's also an amazing actor because as Yellow, Mewtwo, and Blaine are celebrating, Lance reveals that for some reason, somehow, he already had his Pokemon out of his Pokeballs to hide underground and start tremors, so their whole plan was a bust from the get-go. And even worse, Mewtwo and Blaine are out of juice, so it's up to Yellow and her team to stop Lance. And as she approaches Lance with her battle cry, Lance is both shocked and humored by her team, and even Lance's Pokemon look amused. Despite this, Yellow still wants to face Lance, and Lance claims that he won't hold back any punches. And he meant it because as Yellow thinks that she has a chance as a few of Lance's Pokemon are already weakened, Lance reveals his big secret, that he too is a child of Viridian Forest, as he heals his Pokemon back up to full health. Yellow is unsure of whether or not she can go up against Lance just because they both come from Viridian, but Mewtwo encourages her to step forward. Yellow does, but to no avail, as her and her Pokemon are just getting obliterated. Lance tells her to give up, but Yellow refuses as she doesn't want to see the Kanto cities get destroyed, to which Lance says that they won't be destroyed. They'll be rebuilt in a way where arrogant humanity is cleansed and a world where Pokemon can live in freedom. Yellow tells Lance that he's wrong and that she understands his rage, that she's seen humans do selfish things of taking away Pokemon's homes and their food. She's seen all of that along her own journey, but that still doesn't give him the right to punish the human race. It still doesn't mean that people can use Pokemon as tools for revenge. More than anything, she claims that this battle has not just hurt humans, but Pokemon as well, which clearly sets Lance off a bit as he yells at her to be silent, to which Yellow, this little 10-year-old girl, very adamantly claims that she will not be silent and that she hates it when any Pokemon is hurt, even her opponents. She tells Lance that he has an incredible power in the form of healing and questions why he uses it for destruction. Yellow tells Lance that the person who first introduced her to Pokemon once told her that if you care for them with a kind and gentle heart, then they'll always be your friends. The same message that's carried her throughout this whole story. The one that's impacting Lance right now, and uses that to nail down the point to Lance that Pokemon are his friends too. Lance isn't having any of it and proceeds to attack Yellow with a Fire Blast powered up by lava, sending Yellow down to melt in the very same lava. Pikachu, using the same surf shenanigans from earlier, manages to create a surfboard to allow it and Yellow to surf on the frickin' lava for some time. But that's when Lance begins to use his mind reading powers on Pikachu and proceeds to attack them. Yellow knew that she was right with Lance being from Viridian Forest, but doesn't understand how or why Lance would use these powers for destruction. Lance proclaims that Yellow is one of the toughest opponents that he's fought despite her young age, but he's only revealed 4 out of his 5 Dragonaire's powers, and that he still hasn't revealed the power of his full team yet, to which he's right, because when Yellow thinks he gets submerged into the lava, he comes up floating with his whole team. Yellow devises a counter strategy, and that strategy itself works. However, Yellow didn't have the power to see it through. Once again, Yellow is on the verge of defeat when suddenly Giovanni comes in to save the day. That's right, 4 protagonists and 4 Team Rocket gym leaders, and every single one of them team up with one another, with Giovanni and Yellow being from Viridian. However, Giovanni doesn't possess the same powers that Lance and Yellow do. Despite this, as being from Viridian and being the city's gym leader, he takes Lance through a battle. Pika is enraged because he knows Giovanni's evil. Yellow assesses the situation since he just saved them. Giovanni, with his wit, bests Lance, and while he is a ground type expert, he wins the battle by using Beedrill, a Pokemon that was caught and evolved in their homeland of Viridian. Giovanni goes for Lance's neck when Yellow tries to stop him, and while Giovanni pauses, he still intends to continue. After giving Lance a spiel on how Team Rocket will return, Yellow finally recognizes him to be the man who used her hometown and forest to perform evil deeds, and is shocked as Giovanni goes for the final blow. We see Lance look to the side and smirk because it turns out that this was all a part of his plan and he was just stalling for none other than Lugia to arrive. Lance had already collected 7 of the 8 gym badges from Kanto and had already planned for and turned the whole island into one big badge energy amplifier. And so his goal was to try and draw out Giovanni the whole time by bringing him to the center of the island. And in a way that I have never ever seen Giovanni ever in the history of the Pokemon series, Giovanni admits to Lance's clever setup and just bolts off like some kind of meme. Lance mocks Gio for being a coward and goes on to tell Yellow that he's off to the mainland to ravage the cities by taking control of this Pokemon, a legendary Pokemon that no one has ever managed to take control of before. And if he's able to, the entire world will be free from humans forever. He takes his Aerodactyl to the skies and his Dragonite to stall Yellow for some time before flying on up with his team. Yellow pleads Dragonite to move out of the way as she has to stop Lance, to which Dragonite just collapses. Yellow is concerned and realizes that Dragonite must have been so exhausted by simply waiting for Lance's signal within the lava this whole time, and also realized that Dragonite was hiding its exhaustion from Lance, just so Lance wouldn't be concerned. Dragonite goes to follow Lance, and Yellow latches on, telling Dragonite to stop as the effort might unalive it, asking it why it would go this far for Lance. Yellow reads Dragonite's feelings and realizes that Dragonite feels just as strongly towards humans as Lance does. Yellow empathizes with Dragonite the same way she did with Lance, but claims that humans don't deserve any more punishment than Pokemon, and that there is a way for them to coexist, and that our Pokemon know it. Yellow realizes that words won't get through to either of them at this point, and she calls upon her Pokemon to give her the power to show the truth behind her words. Lance attacks her with a Hyper Beam when Yellow sends a Caterpie from its Pokeball, and instantly, her Caterpie evolves in the Metapod and shields her from the hit. Lance questions this, and Yellow claims that now that she no longer has the Pokedex, she can't stop her Pokemon from evolving. But it doesn't matter anymore. She asks her Pokemon to lend her the power to stop Lance, to protect the world, and at once, her entire team evolves, granting Yellow the power she needs, along with the power to fly using Butterfree. 2 characters who come from the same roots, born with the same power, who should have everything in common, fight for 2 opposing sides. One fights to punish humanity and glorify Pokemon, while the other fights for the coexistence and partnership of humans and Pokemon. It's a 6-on-5 of full team assault between Lance and Yellow, with Lugia soaring in from the back, and every single one of their Pokemon are going at it. And as Yellow is flying with her Butterfree and Pika, Pika talks to Yellow as it knows how to stop the badge energy amplifier. The only way to neutralize it is to hit it with a power greater than the energy being emitted by the badges. He sends out one of Caterpie's old threads down to where Red, Green, and Blue all meet up, and Blaine tells the 3 that Yellow is up there, and the 3 recognize that they need to help Yellow. So they send out their starters, and and use the power to carry the energy up to the thread to power up Pika. Simultaneously, Yellow calls upon the power of Viridian Forest, the forest to which Pikachu also belongs, causing Pikachu to utilize the power of Megavolt. Megavolt overwhelms Lance, and we get to see a quick flashback of Lance and the hardship and destruction that he's had to witness be done to Pokemon. Images of the scenes who made him who he was, and the care that drives him before he gets blasted away from the explosion. Giovanni from the back claims that it was no surprise that Lance lost to Yellow, and that the power of the badges and Yellow's powers together have caused the crater to be lush with plant life. The evil gym leaders come to support Giovanni and say that they're ready for Team Rocket to take over again. But Giovanni says that they need time, and that not a single one of them can even come close to the power that either Red or Yellow produce as it stands right now, as Yellow's powers have even reached the mainland. Lugia emerges out of the blast, and Yellow realizes that Lugia helped release the energy from the badges, and as she smiles, she falls in exhaustion, only to end up in Red's arms. Yellow, as she's exhausted, has a dream sequence of her running after Pika, and only in this dream does she really recognize her Pokemon and their evolutions. She continues chasing after Pika and realizes that Pika is Red's Pokemon again, and once again smiles. But she does dream of them being the way they were throughout their adventures, just for a little while longer. She wakes up beside Red atop of his Gyarados and starts blushing as she's near him. And keep in mind, Red has no idea that Yellow is a girl, and he's the only one to not know, and Blue doesn't want to tell him because it's more fun if he doesn't know. Red compliments and thanks Yellow for everything, and then begins to speak about Pika and the conundrum that they're in, cause Red wants to travel with Pika again, and so does Pika, but Pika does also really like Yellow, so what do they do? And to that thought, Red ignorantly jokes and says that maybe they can all live together, to which Pika and Yellow are just taken aback. This story through and through is an underdog story, with Yellow not only being an underdog herself, but even her team has been formulated that way. Her ace can be seen as Butterfree, potentially, which no one ever has as an ace, but with her being from Viridian, it's pretty poetic. Especially since in parallel, Lance has the overpowered dragons, as well as Giovanni having a parallel to Yellow in the form of Beedrill, and Beedrill, Butterfree, and Pika being the respective Pokemon to deal the final blow to Lance, and all three of these Pokemon to be from Viridian and dealing with people who all hail from Viridian. On top of that, it explores a concept and a question that was there from the beginning of the Pokemon franchise, that the majority of Pokemon fans only explored in Gens 5 and 6. Question of whether Pokemon and humans help each other or harm each other. A question of coexistence. A very difficult topic to explore, but one that was done really well for Gen 1 standards, even showing the humanity of the Elite Four at times, though I did wish we got to see them a bit more. But we definitely will, as the story continues, with Lance once again set to appear in Gen 2. And speaking of Gen 2, the final Yellow volume concludes with Blue speaking to Silver as are the two characters who are pivotal to the backstory of one of Pokemon's greatest villains, the Masked Man. More on him in a future video that you definitely don't want to miss.